everybody. This is William Bibbiani reporting from Geekscape, and I am very excited here. We actually have two guests with us today. We have an extraordinary man here to help us introduce another extraordinary man. Appearing here on the Geekscape for the first time, Mr. Marc Heuck, famed movie geek from Comedy Central, and, more importantly, Mr. Stewart Raffill, famed writer-director, director of such films as The Philadelphia Experiment, Mac and Me, Mannequin 2, one of my favorite movies, Ice Pirates, and the recent DVD release, everyone's new favorite film, Standing Ovation. Stewart, thank you for coming with us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you guys.
You
too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Now, I grew up with a lot of your movies, so I was very excited about this new one. A lot of people wasn't have the biggest, widest release for Standing Ovation. It was a hectic summer. So, for people who haven't seen it yet, what is Standing Ovation?
Well, you know, it's a kids musical for kids that are the preteen audience, basically. That's who it's made for.
Yeah.
And you know, High School Musical sort of starred kids that were supposed to be high school kids, but they're in their 20s. We decided to make a movie with kids that were actually, you know, the stars are like 10, 11-year-olds. The bad girls, if you can call them that, are like 16-year-olds, and that's the maximum age of anybody in the movie, basically, except for a couple of adults.
Yeah.
None of them had ever acted before. 20 original songs written just by local people there that we just listened to lots of songs and chose what we could, you know, that we liked, and then taught the kids how to dance. Some of them sang a little bit.
Yeah.
And we went for it, and that's what it is. It's a kids musical made by kids from a neighborhood, basically, where they could all come, you know, to do the rehearsals and learn how to dance. And we just kind of made it up as we went along when we met the kids. They all came from one singing school, and the guy there, Sal Dupree, he had like 100-odd students, and my wife was always, you know, connected with that place. She said they got great kids, so we decided to make a movie with them. And so they all came and interviewed, and then we sort of wrote a script and adapted it to the characters that came in.
Now, a lot of the characters in the scripts originally, according to some of the producers we talked to, didn't start out the way that they ended up.
No. In fact, a lot of the characters we actually wrote to you know, to take advantage of what their essence was. There was a little girl called Ilana who came in, cute as a button, 7. Came in there and did a dance, and she was just a showgirl, you know. And she came and she says, "Well, who's the director here, you know?" And I said, "Well, that would be me." And she says, "Okay." And then she just focused on me, like, you know, the typical actress. But she's 7. 3 days later, I'm in there writing in the office, which is the school, and the door kind of creaks open. This little face looks around the corner. It's this little girl, and she says, "Oh," I said, "Oh, hi, Alana." She says, "So?" And I said, "So what?" She says, "Well, am I in or am I not?" You know, I said, "You're in." She says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And she leaves. 1 minute later, the door creaks open again, and she's back. And I said, "Yes, what now?" She says, "Do I have a speaking part?" I thought to myself, this is like Hollywood gone wild in New Jersey, you know. There was another girl came in who was not your quintessential good-looking kid, but had a really interesting personality. And she lived in South Philly, which is the mafia area, if you've ever been there. And she had sort of a mafia look and everything, and she knew that culture and that they're the neighbors. And so I was talking to Sal, who runs the place, and I said, could she be, could we have like a mafia girl in this? A girl that's, you know, I don't know.
Well, like a young girl, let's make it clear. Yes, we're not talking about a gangster small.
I'm talking about a 10-year-old.
10-year-old, yeah.
But she's tough, you know, and she has this tough presence and everything.
Yeah.
And he said, "Sure." And I said, you know, we'd have to teach her the mannerisms. Well, she knew the mannerisms, you know. You have your swing with the fishes and all that sort of stuff, you know. So we put her in it. Yeah. And then wrote, you know, a character and gave her some power with some reptiles and things to enhance her powers of persuasion over the bad guys. And she's hunting for something that ripped off her family. Yes. And then there's the lead girl. She lives with a grandfather, and they're pretty poor, and they're trying to struggle and trying to be decent and everything. And so she finds her father in the movies through the structure of the story. And then we had all these dance numbers, which were incredible. It's stunning.
There's like 20 dance numbers and musical numbers.
Yeah, you're getting your money's worth from this particular movie.
Yeah.
Now,
I actually went to see Burlesque last night, which is a big dance movie, you know.
Yeah. And we were just reading, there was a quote in a magazine about
yes, our friend Alonzo Duralde, who writes for Movie Line and a couple other websites, just published a book, Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas. plug Alonso. He was saying that basically Standing Ovation is the movie that Burlesque should have been.
Oh, well, that's very kind. There you go.
But we love Standing Ovation. I think a lot of kids love Standing Ovation. There's a neat little thing you put together here with critics' quotes from kids who've seen the movie, who love it, and have said things like, I love the movie Standing Ovation, I can't wait to see it together with their friends and family, so on. They're not exactly William F. Buckley, but they're really sweet and sincere quotes. But it's interesting to me, and Marc is heavily responsible for this, it's also reached an audience outside of its target demographic. There are a lot of people our age, sort of adolescents at heart, who have really embraced it, and it's a very unique film in a lot of ways. There's not a lot of films
It kind of has a campy feel to it when you watch it and everything.
In a good way, though. I want to make that very clear.
In a good way. And what happens is you just get a bunch of kids together.
Yeah.
And they never acted before. And the set was like chaos. You'd have, there's like 15 kids that are in the movie, plus their parents around, and they bring all their friends.
Yeah.
So the noise is like and it's funny, you think, it's going to drive me crazy, but for some unknown reason, the chatter and the play and the chaos actually became calming. It was like you could sit in it and meditate in the noise almost. It was so bizarre.
Well, like people who sleep with the television on.
You got it.
There you go, yeah.
Exactly. You actually got to the point where you wanted that noise around you.
Yeah.
And one of the joys of it, or one of the tricks of it, was to start the scene and slip into it without losing the energy of those kids, the way they related to each other.
Yeah.
You understand? So there was not like, right, concentrate, we're going to do this now and everything. None of that.
You don't want to overdo the discipline for
no
kids
discipline,
that age. Right.
and none of it. They were all neophyte actors and actresses. So the thing was to have them just bring their own persona to it and their own interrelationships with each other. The way they, one had this person and one had that one, and the way they ribbed, one was a bully sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the art of it was to just slip into that same mood as the play on the set. And the amazing thing is that we live in a world where they show all this internecine politics with kids, and they fighting and they're doing this, and there's bullies and all this stuff. But on our set, everybody got along. The girl that was the bully was actually a playful bully. You know what I mean? But it was
So she'll grow out of it. But
not only that, but she was like she was the bully because she wanted to be the leader. You know what I mean? So she was pushing him on the bully. But the fact of the matter is, the older girls and the young kids, they all mixed together. They stayed in houses together because we had to have them when they come down and shoot in areas, we'd just rent big houses and they'd all just stay in the houses together. It was a very joyous affair with the kids.
That's great. Yeah. Marc, you had something you want to ask?
Well, that you raise a good point about the fact that they all had to stay in close quarters.
Yeah.
And now, how long was it to shoot? Because, was this done during summer break when everybody's out of school, or were you trying to accommodate everybody's school and activity schedules? Because parents nowadays are just saddling their kids with so many after-school activities that how can you get them all organized?
Well, that was the whole thing. Basically, when I did the schedule, I split it up into two groups, and I tried to work weekends and 2 days in the week, like a Wednesday and a Tuesday. And the Wednesday and Tuesday I'd split two different groups. So I'd shoot on the weekend, you could have them all because they'd all be available. And then in the weekdays, we'd do smaller scenes with less of them, and they would just we'd have a teacher there and help them with their schoolwork. But it was not the big group. And then we'd work on the weekends, we'd work in holidays, we did shoot in some of the summer, but what happened is the songs, they couldn't keep up with the choreography. They didn't know how to dance. So there was a time that you had to sort of give them to practice the dance routines so they were good enough that you could film them. So there was, we closed, for like a month just before Christmas, and then went back after Christmas. And in that period, they had their Christmas and learned the rest of the dance routines.
Now, one of the things that I want to make sure we sell Standing Ovation properly, people who might not otherwise see it, it is a kids' musical. It is very optimistic and fun, a lot of music in it, but it's also got all of these interesting flourishes. Little things that any other movie maybe just sort of been thrown out there, but are very distinctive in Standing Ovation. There's the most distinctive cell phone ring I think I've ever seen in a movie. How did that go again? Marc, you remember how
that was my voice.
That was your voice?
That was my voice.
Could you do the voice for us? Could you do it?
Oh, it was just like, Hello? 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 Hello?
This is
Hello?
a 10-year-old's ringtone. It's amazing.
It slowly goes crazier and crazier.
Was that just later on in the project? You're just in the editing room and you just get bored and you're just like, oh, let's do this. It'll be hilarious.
You've exactly got it.
That's
and
it.
So, and I like, when I sort of write a lot of the things that I do.
Yeah.
And when you're the writer on a picture, you're desperate for input because you really can't carry the weight of everything as a writer. You may write the best, the first, 5 or 6 characters and flesh them out and have a history in your mind and have that, but there's so much more. So you're always looking for people to bring more. So I like to have a set where people have like a suggestion, show me. Change that dialogue if it suits you better, as long as it doesn't change the intent, if it works for them. So I'm very flexible on the set that way, and I think that sort of helps children because they have their own sort of cadence and everything.
Yeah.
I'm old and they're very young, so it's better they write their own dialogue half the time, You just tell them what the intention is.
Yeah.
The first thing in acting is that you have to say, what are you trying to do? What is your intention in the scene? Are you trying to please that person, irritate that person, find something out from that person? So you can set that parameter and let the kids work into that, which is an acting device to do the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about being kids from the neighborhood, I think one of the things that appeals to me about is that there is kind of this non-professional look to what they do, in the sense that they're obviously talented, but they don't look like they've been polished. That they look like what actual kids would be doing in junior high or high school.
Which I thought was fun to catch, and most pictures for that age group, the picture really appeals kids-wise for kids from 4 to maybe 12. Most of the films of those kids are animated films, which are great. I mean, you see them, they do amazing animation things, but there's nothing much where there's real kids doing real things. So I think what's interesting for me was to try and make a picture which starred kids for kids, with kids, and about kids.
That
and
they
their
love
world.
to see themselves on screen. Because they hardly ever do, except in some sort of supporting.
Even Disney movies, they'll do a kids movie, but it'll be all adults, like Robin Williams with other people. Kids, you know what I mean? And you can see why they do it, because it's hard to. And they aim for they try to get a broader audience. I went for a smaller, very specific audience, with the peripheral interest of people, because it's fun, it's escapistic. The kids are singing, having a good time. I think what happens, you see kids doing something they enjoy doing, and I think in the process of them enjoying themselves, you actually enjoy it. It's like it catches. It's a catching sentiment.
Absolutely. It's funny to me though, because you've done a lot of movies that I grew up with, at the risk of making me sound very young.
Yeah.
You are young. But they weren't kids' movies. I grew up with Ice Pirates.
Right.
When I was like 5, and there were so many things that went over my head. I was just watching it the other night, and it's got like space herpes, and there's shit that gets space herpes. It's wonderful, and I was watching that, and it really felt like this might be a stretch, but it felt almost like a precursor to Standing Ovation, because here's something that's it fits a very specific mold. It's a very specific genre, the space opera genre. Yeah. But you brought so many ideas and wonderful little theatrical elements to it that are just so distinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
drugs.
Drugs. No, really.
Hey, you're writing a movie like that. You've got to get with the audience.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
No, just if there are kids watching, we don't approve the use of drugs.
No
Only
drugs.
the
We barely approve of Ice Pirates.
Joke.
It's true. No, we totally approve of Ice Pirates.
Edit.
No, I'm not editing that. But no, it was wonderful. And actually, Ice Pirates, it's funny to me, because until I saw Standing Ovation, I realized I'd seen a lot of your films without really thinking of you as an auteur.
Oh, well.
But the more I think about it...
I'll buy your coffee then.
Yes! Free coffee! But it's true, and I think a lot of your films do have a certain recurring elements of playfulness and just...
a sense of humor, I think.
Very good sense of humor.
I think you need to. I always, at the end, even in our own modest life, because in your movie business, you're rich, you're poor, you're up, you're down, you're devastated, you're struggling back out of it. At the worst times, I have always had an inclination in my life just to burst into laughter.
Yeah.
Even when it's the worst thing, I got thrown out of college for laughing in front of the dean when all the friends were being lectured. I just burst into laughter. It's just something. So to me, it's just implicit. You need to have some release from the tension of things with a sense of humor. And I think, you know, humor is the indication of something that has perspective on life.
Yeah.
Because you have to separate yourself from the issue to be able to laugh at it.
It's true. But there's also a good juxtaposition in a lot of your movies between humor and, I don't want to say darkness, but certainly dramatic weight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the protagonist in Standing Ovation has almost a Dickensian sort of life. Her father is missing and possibly... Yeah. Lord only knows what he's been up to. He might not be a very good person. You've got this father who's got a gambling addiction. And even in Ice Pirates, one of my defining moments for me as a film watcher for me was watching Ice Pirates, and there's this chase on like some sort of futuristic motorcycle, and then there's these three little robots wandering down the hallway, and then they run over this little tiny robot, and the middle robot goes, "Baby! Baby!" And then they run over the bigger robot, and then the other robot goes, "Mommy! Baby! Mommy! Baby!" And I swear to God, I am not exaggerating here, that might have been the first moment where I thought about mortality. I thought about, I might die, and my mom might be hurt. My parents might die, and I might be alone.
Yeah. And all you
That's
can say,
you.
That's me. There's another movie I did called High Risk years ago,
which I am a huge fan of and highly recommend.
All right, there you go. That was another humorous film. These guys, and it was really interesting how that picture came about, because I used to be a documentary filmmaker, and I used to shoot my own stuff, and I got hired to go to Spain and do a movie about people in prison there for smuggling drugs.
Yeah, just to pitch the movie real fast.
Oh,
People haven't seen it because it's no. By all means, you tell it's your film.
Well, anyway, so it turned out that the person that financed that movie was a drug dealer who was trying to find out how you smuggle hashish out of North Africa into Europe, and then from that I came up with the idea that these guys find out about a drug dealer down in Colombia, and they has all this cash, and they're out of work. You know, order workers, they decide to go down there and rip him off and get the cash because the one saw it.
Did it work? Did the producer try that after the film, or once the film had come out, everyone was on to the scheme?
You know, the guy became very rich, and I never asked any questions.
And that man's name was Bill Gates.
Yeah, right. He was very young, too.
Let's talk about another one of your movies. A lot of people have seen or grew up with watching Mac and Me.
Oh, yeah, right.
Mac and Me is a very my memory of Mac and Me was there's this musical. It's about kids and aliens and you know, friendship and the power of Coca-Cola, which is also good. But there's this McDonald's. There's a great musical number at McDonald's where it's this rap dance thing, and Ron McDonald's there doing magic. And I remember when I was a kid, I saw that, and for years afterwards, I was little. For years afterwards, whenever I told my parents, "Where do you want to go, William? Let's go to McDonald's," is how I talked.
Yeah.
The reason I went wasn't because I liked the food. I went because I thought if I went to McDonald's often enough, the odds would increase of that happening.
The dance.
That would just happen. Because it was a big musical number, but it was at a place where I go. I go to McDonald's. So I just thought, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? So I was working on my popping and locking, and what was the inspiration for that? Was that just McDonald's said we want to do McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you how the movie came about.
Yeah.
The hardest thing in making independent films is to get the money.
Yeah.
So everything is a deal, you know, and this was the deal. They wanted to do. The guy that supplied all the produce for McDonald's and the west of the United States said he'd finance the picture, but he'd have McDonald's do the Coke advertising with it. Okay, we were the first to do that. The moment Disney found out that we were doing that, they came in, pushed us aside, and took over 5 years or 10 years of co-advertising their things. But the picture was financed by a guy from McDonald's with the idea that we'd advertise, and part of the deal was that we gave half the profits at the Ronald McDonald Foundation.
Oh,
that was nice.
That's
and
nice.
The picture did pretty good. And the other caveat was they wanted to have a handicapped kid in the movie. So I actually found a kid that was a spinal bifida kid, and he starred in the movie. And the irony is that nobody from the world of handicapped people even got behind the movie. It was so bizarre. And the kid was, he was actually very, very good in it. But this is the politics of movie.
Well, also, as I recall, the movie got, much like Standing Ovation, it was buried in the dead of summer, in like August. And this was not when August was the cool month where you got stuff like Inglourious Bastards and The Expendables. This was August was the dumping ground.
Yeah.
This was where everybody put the movies that no one else was behind, like You're the Hunter from the Future. So.
Right. August was the old September, to put it another way.
And even September's now being gobbled up because
I know, right? It's
it's
getting to the point where good movies can even come out in January.
I know.
What's the world coming to?
So Mac and Me just got buried in the dog days of August.
But it did pretty good, and it did well foreign and everything. So it was. I mean, it worked out for the charity and everything.
Sure.
I'm still waiting to get paid myself.
Now, since Mac and Me is also finding its second life in home video and in theatrical revivals,
it's got a cult following.
Is the Ronald McDonald House still getting any of that money?
I had to speak to the producer, but I assume so because it was written in blood.
Oh God!
So that was a fact.
Okay.
The Ice Pirate's the one that actually keeps being reborn. It's very bizarre. The only reason I know is you get residuals for writing these things.
Yeah.
And the biggest residual movie I ever got was this one, and I actually wrote the original story for what was it called? Passenger 57.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's another one that had an effect on my life.
Oh, well,
it's true. There's that great line, I don't know if this was you, but where Wesley Snipes is talking to Bruce Payne, and he says, I got some advice for you. What's that? Always bet on black.
You got it.
So I went to Vegas for the first time. Not recently, but when I went to Vegas for the first time, I went to the roulette table, put $20 on black. You owe me $20.
Oh, there you go.
$20 you owe me.
Yeah.
But what was your extent? Was that your idea? Because you only have a story credit, and I'm always kind of nebulous.
What happened is I wrote a script called Passenger 57, and it was a very political script. Okay, it was right at the time that they took all the Americans hostage in Iran, and it was about Clint Eastwood on a plane had buried his son, and the plane gets hijacked. They get took to Tehran, and then he escapes and he splits everybody up. And then he says, "Who runs this country?" And they said, "The mullahs." And he goes and he captures all the mullahs as hostages. Said, "You bring me all these Americans here," and then he makes a bus with and arms it and fights his way out of Iran. That's what the original story.
Dude, remake? That's awesome!
And do you know what the head of the studio told me? He said, "The best script, we love it, we'd love to make it, but they'll bomb the theaters." And that was before they bombed theaters or bombed anybody.
Well, that guy was clearly very smart.
So then, so I did like 2 or 3 writes,
yeah.
And then I got a job on a picture in Africa, which I like Africa. So I went there, and then they took the first part of the movie, and that's what became the film.
Oh.
The stuff on the plane, they never went to a country they had to fight their way out of, and they sort of just limited it and made it here. That's how it came about.
Well, it became Die Hard ripoff because there was that period afterwards.
It's exactly that's sort of what it was.
Yeah.
And Wesley was great.
He is great.
Yeah,
He's great. We always love Wesley.
Yeah, I hope he's okay.
Free Wesley.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did they put him in jail yet?
Not yet.
He'll get there.
I hope not.
No one's gonna mess with Wesley after Undisputed. No one's gonna mess with Wesley in jail.
There you go.
No, it's a bad idea. Mark, is there anything you want to say in conclusion before we wrap this up? Because we got Stewart Raffill here, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, we've covered the bullet points. I mean, High Risk, Ice Pirates.
I think High Risk is the one we need to remake.
Yeah. Hollywood, get on that. We know you're watching. I actually do know you're watching. So we High Risk and that Passenger 57. Find the original script. Let's do this.
And Jim Brolin's a very close friend of mine, and
he has a cameo in Standing Ovation.
Well, yeah,
he
was out stumping for the movie all over television and such.
Yeah, and Anthony Quinn was in that movie. He was just the most amazing.
Not Standing Ovation.
No, High Risk.
High Risk. Yeah, he was just a powerhouse to work with.
Well, he seemed like a wonderful man.
He was just, and he was an amazing sculptor and artist and everything. But I've never been around an actor that was so into becoming the character to the point that if he's a nasty person, you're going to deal with a nasty person when I say cut. You know, he would say no. He'd get mad at a crew member and fire him, and I'd just tell him to walk around and come back in the morning. You know, he'd get so into the character that he would he'd finish and he was still on edge and still into this being. It was just bizarre, but it was fantastic on film because it was just so powerful.
Did you ever try to get Laurence Olivier onto the set and just say, Anthony, it's called acting?
He's a Latino. You know, the two do not mix.
Oh dear.
Oh, there you go.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We've had a wonderful director here, Mr. Stewart Raffill. We had a wonderful co-interviewer, Mr. Marc Heuck. I'm William Bibbiani. Thank you for watching Geekscape. And please rent, buy, watch, share Standing Ovation. It really is the cult sensation that is sweeping the nation. I'm a big fan. Mark's a big fan. Our cameraman, Whitney Seibold, also Geekscape writer, is a big fan.
Hi.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching Geekscape.